Hey, I'm back. It's Friday yet again. It's time for a shop update. Let's get cracking with this. If this is your first time tuning in, go back, watch some other videos. Watch this video. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and that'll be super helpful. That'll be wonderful. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's start talking. Let's start chit-chatting. Let's talk about some projects here. We're going to start out with our old favorite, the Defender 90 project. Christian's been working diligently on this again. I know. You're thinking, what did he do this week? Did he put all the interior back in? Are the windows back in? Did he repaint the truck yellow? Clearly he didn't repaint the truck yellow. It's white, and we're not doing that. He's been working on that back door still. Now, for those of you who have been keeping up with the date with the videos, you're thinking, my God, how long does it take to do stuff on the back door? I want you to know that when I'm giving you updates on what people are doing on things, it may not be the only thing that they do here. Like, Christian does a lot of other stuff here, and it pulls him away from this project quite often. So he has to answer phones, he's got to talk to people who drop by, he's got to do a lot of other stuff, pay bills, write emails, all that stuff that I don't usually have to do. So, you know, hey, look at me, easy street over here. But that means that sometimes it sounds like it takes a really long time to do something that you're thinking, that shouldn't take that long. In actual hours worked, it's still a very limited amount of time, but it just sounds like it takes a long time. If that makes any sense to you. He's been cracking away on the rear door and some other things that have been going on in the back end of this truck. He's got to get it fitted. He's got to make sure everything's right. You got to remember that. The new door doesn't have all the holes in it. You remember that door is not made for just a 1997 90-inch with a North American spec, spare tire, and all that stuff. It's made for a bunch of different models of Defender. So it needs some extra help in some areas. It needs a couple things, you know, drilled, a couple things. And when you're doing that, you got to measure for your hole. You don't want to measure, you know, by eyeballing. You want to get a real good measurement on it, and you want to make that hole in the right spot. You want to make sure it's the right size hole, and you got to deburr the hole, and you got to make sure you're test fitting all the parts back together. And it's time consuming. You could slapdash it. You could rush through the process and be good enough, but that's not who we are. We're not good enough. We want to be the best at this, so we got to do it right. If you're not going to do it right, don't do it. All right. That's a good rule of thumb, especially when it comes to cars. If you're not going to do it right, just don't do it, okay? Good enough is not good enough. Do it the best you can, which is always the best. Anyway, he's been working on that. There were some brackets that didn't quite line up back there. There were some holes that weren't quite right. One of the things was the spare tire carrier. There's this big plate that mounts to the very back, and I'll walk back there and I'll show it to you. But that plate on the original door, there's a different kind of plate, and the new plate uses the same holes, or some of the same holes, and in the original Land Rover door, the plate was actually mounted crooked. So when you take a measurement of all of the holes, they were off. And so when you went to mount it up to the new one, he was like, I don't want to do this crooked. Let's mount it up straight, shall we? So, a spare tire carrier in a place. And the bracket I'm talking about is this one right here. On the original door, if he'd have put the holes in the exact same spot that the original holes were on the original door, this plate would actually sit a little crooked. You probably wouldn't notice. Okay? You probably wouldn't notice. The normal person's eye wouldn't see it. But you know who would know? You know who'd know that bracket was crooked? Christian and I, we would know. And we don't like that. Because again, do the best job you can. Do the best. Do good at it. Don't half-ass it. Don't do well enough. Land Rover gave us a well enough on that one. All right, they gave us a crooked bracket. It was mounted kind of crooked. That door was put together on a Friday, man. That's what that was. They were itching to get out of there and get themselves a pint. It's a good truck, but that's where he's at with that one. He's done a bunch of other stuff too. I don't know. I'm standing over there watching him the whole time. So when there's big things, I'm like, he did that. When there isn't, I like to talk to him a little bit about it. Like I say, hey, what'd you do on it? And then I'm just like, you know what? I heard everything you said, but I have ADD. So it went in one ear and right out the other. I don't remember. I think I got the gist of it though. I think I got what he did. I think I'm there. Anyway, let's get on to it. This Jaguar. We're not working on it yet. We're not going to be working on it probably for a little while if we do it all. If we do it all. The owner of this car is actually going to go look and see if he can get another one. They're not, I'm not going to say that they're super cheap, but relatively a decent value for money, to be honest with you. A convertible 12-cylinder car for, you can pick one of these up for only $25,000 in really good shape. That's a deal, guys. That's a steal these days. He's looking at another one. Same color, same interior, same kind of car, same everything, basically. And I think he's going to go look at that this weekend, and he's going to see if he wants that, and maybe he'll get a different car. If that's the case, there's going to be a few things that come off of this one that go on to his new one, but we're not going to be fixing this one. It's still up in the air, though. We may still be fixing this one. I don't really necessarily want to fix this one. Not to say that I don't want to help somebody out. I do want to help him out. Like, yeah, this is your baby. I get it. But in all honesty, like, a car fire is kind of like a can of worms. A, you got to figure out why a car fire started. And then B, you have to fix all of the damage that fire caused so that it doesn't cause another car fire. And you got to do it so it looks dead original and factory without blowing the thing into pieces and making it look like that Triumph over there. It's a tall order, and we are busy people. We ain't got time for this sometimes. So I would say that maybe we may be making that car a good one again, maybe. But right now the owner is looking at buying another one, and we're going to take pieces from this one and put them onto that one. So that's where the update is on that one. Let's talk about this Defender 110 project a little bit before I get to the other project that I worked on this week. That one right there. Defender. I've not done any wrenching on this project this week. That's why there's been no YouTube shorts or anything like that of me grinding on random parts. There has been parts ordering, and I started writing out not only a list of more parts that he needs, mainly suspension stuff, but I've also started writing out a list of the things that I need to make sure that I have finished up the fabrication on and I'm squared away with, and I'm really happy with before we take it all back apart. The plan is, of course, we're going to be painting everything you see that's in fire engine red on the bodywork. We're going to be painting that in the green color that the rest of the truck is. However, we may not have the time to do that. So it may be that we actually job out the painting on this, job out the painting to another shop. Not the Austin Healey paint shop, okay? We're not doing that. We're not doing that again. We'll find another shop, okay? So we may be jobbing that up. Not a big deal. We kind of like the idea of kind of taking some of the things off of our plate to make it a little bit easier on us. So maybe that happens. But if this is getting jobbed out, it means I don't have the thing here to do a lot of modifications. And I need to make sure that any modifications to the firewall get done before it goes into paint. So I'm writing up my list of I need to, here's where, if I'm moving the clutch line, here's what I need to do. If I'm moving this bracket, here's what I need to make the firewall and the tunnel and all that stuff. So I'm writing up a list to do that. That'll start get cracking after I get done with the project that I was on this week. This week, I jumped on a project that I haven't talked about a lot here, okay? But you've seen it in the background. It's a Sunbeam Alpine. That's an Alpine, not a Tiger. They're basically identical visually. There's a few differences, but visually they kind of look exactly the same. If you were an old enough person, Maxwell Smart drove a car that looked very similar to this. I think he drove a Tiger, not an Alpine. I don't know for a fact, but Alpines are wonderful cars. They're actually very underrated. Think Triumph TR4, but more obscure. Okay, and more random parts from different companies, and Sunbeam's special, their very own parts. So, think Triumph TR4 that you can't get everything for. That's a Sunbeam Alpine. They're actually fantastic cars to drive. I have been doing finishing up the seats. That is one of the seats right there. That's the passenger seat, I believe. I haven't actually checked yet. I'm just putting seats together as they go. I didn't label them. I just kept them all together. This one goes this side, this one goes this side. I think that's passenger. We'll find out, okay? We'll find out. I'll let you guys know when I find out. But I did the rest of the upper seat cushion. I need to finish that up on this one. I also need to finish up on the other one, which I'll show you is on the bench. We got a few interior things that we got to square away with, a couple of snaps that need to be put on the top, and a good solid detailing. And I think there may be a brake leak somewhere on here. This car has been here a while. Now, it's been here a while for a couple of reasons. Number one, we couldn't get a lot of the stuff for this car when it came in. When it came in, it was kind of in the middle of COVID, and we couldn't get a top. Just, that wasn't a thing. And it came in for a top. Couldn't get it. Nobody had one. No one was ready for it. It was several months out for that. We also couldn't get the seat kit that we wanted. Again, and these were coming from two different suppliers, and nobody could get stuff for it for the longest time. We called around to a couple other places, and we could get like a regular vinyl, shiny black vinyl top, but the owner didn't want that. They wanted the canvas style top, the Stay Fast or Sunfast top. That's what she wanted. So it took a little bit to get all the parts. Once we got the parts, it was working it into the schedule, because we're busy, working it into the schedule, getting the stuff done. We finally got the top on, but we didn't get the seat kits yet. And then we got the seat kits, and then we were waiting on back order, I think, for the upper foam. We couldn't get the upper foam for it. So it's just been a lot of waiting periods for this car. Tail end of fall last year, the owner said, hey, can I get the car back? And we were like, actually, we have everything. We can rush and get it done for you. And she was like, well, I actually can't drive. She had some kind of medical problem. She couldn't drive at the time. So she's like, can I just keep it in storage there for the winter? So it's been in storage here. That's why we haven't been doing much with it. But it's time to get it back to the owner, which means we got to finish up the stuff that we need to finish up. I had done a couple other things on it while I was here for winter, but not a lot. Now it's time to get it finished up. So that's what I've been working on most of this week, is getting these seats squared away. I'll show you the other one real quick. It's not very far along yet, but it's getting there. It's over here on the bench. You see the back seat cushion here. I had to make the cardboard panels that go on the back here. I'll show you what that looks like before it's all folded up and bent. This is what a cardboard panel. This is a seat back panel. It doesn't look there's nothing too fancy. It's just just a geometric shape, a vague shape. But on these cars, they mount in two different places. I've seen them mounted like this on the back of this frame, and I've seen them mounted on the front of this frame. And this car had both of them. One seat had it on the front, and the other seat had it on the back. So it was good guesswork. Which one is right? They're actually supposed to be mounted on the inside, but in all honesty, it looked better with it on the outside. So I have been covering it with on the outside. I know, you're thinking, hey, you do restorations, you should do it exactly the way it was done. Visually, you won't be able to tell. I think that putting it on the back adds a little bit more structure to the back of the seat, and they look a little bit more refined and finished. That's why I do that. But they won't actually visually look any different, if that makes sense. So that's where I was at with the Sunbeam project. I hope to get it kind of squared away or close to being done next week. I always say that stuff, it'll be done next week. And, 10 other things pop up, or, there's a million things I got to do that I can't do. That's just life, guys. It's just life. So we'll get the seat put together. This one will take far less time than the first one did. We'll get that done. We've got some parts coming in on, I believe, Monday for the Defender 110 Cummins swap project. I ordered a clutch and a master cylinder. The clutch assembly is actually a Mopar clutch. For those of you who like your Chrysler products, your Dodges, your Plymouths, your Chryslers, your DeSotos, your Imperials. I don't think Imperial and DeSoto was part of Mopar, but there's heritage there. Your Dodge brothers, ooh, digging her way back. But it uses a 10.5-inch 23 spline small block Mopar V8 clutch. Now, small block is kind of a term, and I'm going to ramble here, kind of a term. It's relegated. Usually it's synonymous with stuff like Chevrolet engines. There's a Chevrolet small block and a Chevrolet big block. And that makes sense because Chevrolet made one small block, and that works. Now, they did make two big blocks, but technically no one remembers the she's real fine, my 409 big block. Nobody remembers that one. Mopar, better yet, Ford, they also have a small block, but they've got like 3 small blocks. So when you say I have a Ford small block, well, which one are you talking about? And they've got like 4 big blocks. Which one of those are you talking about? Chrysler, Mopar, same thing. I believe they've got two small blocks and a couple of big blocks that they have. And we're not just talking about engine displacement. We're talking about the physical size of the actual physical size of the castings. Because the engine displacement, if we went off of engine displacement for whether or not it was a small block or a big block, we would all go even more insane because it doesn't make any sense that way. You can have engines that are cast as they're the same casting as a big block, and they're giant casting, but they're under 300 cubic inches. So if your limit is in the 300 to 400 cubic inch range, and you can have small blocks that are 400 cubic inches. You can build a 351 Windsor, which is a small block Ford. You can build that to have 400 and I think 430 something cubic inches. I know that there's a 427 cubic inch kit for them. I've looked it up and drooled over it for a little bit. So you've got, when somebody says, oh, it's a clutch for a small block Mopar. Well, which engine? Just tell me what engine you want me to order a clutch for. Just say the engine. Luckily, QuickDraw actually puts a part number with it, so you just look up the part number and you just buy the clutch for that part number. It's a good clutch coming in. The other one was a slave cylinder. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a second, you bought a kit, didn't you? Didn't you say you bought a kit to install this Cummins, and it didn't come with a clutch or a slave cylinder? That is correct. This is why, if you watch the previous videos, I did say that I think they misspoke when they said they had a kit to sell. They do have a kit, which includes the engine and the transmission that you can buy, which does have a clutch and a slave cylinder. But when I bought the kit, they were like, no clutch for you. No slave cylinder, sir. I had to buy those separate. I did, however, get three exhaust exits for my turbocharger setup here. So I've got options for the turbo. I can make that exhaust pipe go any which way I need it to, but no clutch or slave cylinder. That's all right. So I ordered up the clutch and I ordered up the slave cylinder for it. The slave cylinder is a 3 1/4 inch diameter bore, 1997-ish, I think, 97, 98, somewhere in there. 4-liter Jeep Wrangler clutch slave. That means, I know it's sacrilege. It's total sacrilege. This Land Rover is getting a Jeep part put on it. I know, it hurt me to do it too, but it's going to happen, so. I can, if it was a Toyota part, I'd have been like, that's great. It means it'll work forever. If you used another Land Rover part, I'd be like, I don't know if it's up to it, but sure, cool, you used a Land Rover part. That's great. If you used a Cummins part, I'd be like, yeah, Cummins, all right. You used a Jeep. Land Rover guys and Jeep guys, I mean, we get along on the trail, but, we always got to take shit on each other, pardon my language. We always kind of got to, rib each other a little bit, you drive a Jeep. What gym do you work out at? Anyway, so, we'll have a Jeep part on that, which means it'll probably work, for 100 years and never give you a problem. Damn you, Jeeps. That's I'm rambling now, and that's it. That's all I got this week. It's been a whirlwind. We've been super busy. You can see the shop is just a total mess, and I am slowly going insane. So, on that wonderful note, I bid you all adieu, and I will see you all next week, next Friday. I hope you have a lovely weekend and a lovely week.